I lived in Sydney for 5 months and these are the top 10 things you must do in Sydney. Where to stay, things to see, activities to do, everything you need to know is in this video. If you don't know who I am, I'm Jose Santos and welcome to my channel. If you haven't, leave a like and subscribe. Let's start it. The first thing to do, and honestly this is pretty obvious, you should go to the most touristic part, which is Opera House, the Botanical Gardens, the Circular Quay, where everything basically happens. Before I arrived to Sydney, obviously I wanted to see the Sydney Opera House and it's beautiful. You have to check it out 100%. It's in first place because it's not the best one. Talking about food in general, and second thing, when in Sydney you have to check it out always, the happy hours. Basically you have happy hours everywhere, every day of the week, and you just have to be sure or to check it out before going out. If you go to a dinner, you'll spend a lot of money. But if you go a little bit earlier, like 4 to 6 or 5 to 7, normally they have very good happy hours and maybe you get your food at 50% of discount. So make sure you check the happy hours in Sydney. The Blue Mountains. Well, the Blue Mountains. The Blue Mountains were the first national park I have been here in Australia and in Sydney. Sadly, it was a bad weather, so we couldn't see much, but I can tell you, it's amazing. And honestly, it was my first experience with kangaroos, the big ones, not the wallabies, the big kangaroos, just in front of me on the wild. It was an amazing experience and I will never forget it because, well, it was very worth it. A con about the Blue Mountains, it's around 1 hour away from Sydney, so be sure to rent a car because it's very needed when you go to the Blue Mountains, even to go from one point to the other, because it's very worth it. You have a lot of things to see there, so make sure to rent a car or maybe a motorbike, but I always recommend a car. Palm Beach. Palm Beach is a little bit weird because nobody really talks a lot about this place, but this is like a hidden gem. It's a place that you can't leave Sydney without going there. From the city center to Palm Beach you take around 50 minutes, but a good thing about this is you don't need a car. You have a direct bus from the city center to Palm Beach and it takes around 50 minutes. And to be completely honest with you, Palm Beach is one of the most beautiful places I have seen in New South Wales. Where to stay? My answer to this one will be very different than other videos probably here on YouTube. If you are staying in an Airbnb for a short term, well, I really recommend you to check the northern beaches. From the northern beaches, I mean from Manly to Narrowena maximum. In the northern beaches is basically where you get the real life Australian experience. You have a lot of families there, you have a lot of places to see. It's a beautiful place, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a little suspect here because I lived there for 5 months. Right now I'm living in Early, but I can tell you right away that it was probably the best 5 months in my entire life. If you haven't watched the videos before, you can watch it here, but me and my girlfriend lived in DY, and DY is probably one of the most family environments I have ever seen. So if you want to check it out, if you want a relaxed place where you can have amazing breakfast, amazing brunches, lunch, dinner, DY Beach is the perfect place. Number 6, and honestly I think I already lost myself in the numbers, so I'm just gonna tell you next one. Next one is, as I told you before, to go to Blue Mountains you need a car, and I really recommend you to rent a car during all the week. If you are staying for a week, and if you are staying for a month, maybe buy a car and resell it afterwards, or just rent a car. If you just want to see the most amazing places in Sydney, you actually don't need a car. But if you want to explore everything around Sydney because it's a gigantic city, well, I really recommend you to rent a car. But if you can't rent a car, don't worry, because the transportation is not good, it's amazing. But with this amazing transportation comes a high cost. Transportation in Sydney, it's not expensive, it's very expensive. The next one is the ferry boat from Manly to the Circular Quay. Manly and the Circular Quay, both of them are very touristic. But I can tell you right away one thing. If you don't want to be in the middle of the crowd, take the ferry boat for 25 to 30 minutes. It's an experience that you will probably not forget it soon. The ferry trip is around $7. It's basically free because it's like a tour in one of the most and amazing landscapes you can see in Sydney. You go through the Sydney Opera House, you go through the big bridge, you go through amazing landscapes, amazing houses. It's a must, believe me. The next one is Bondi and the South Beaches walks. Basically, Bondi is one of the most known beaches in the world. If you haven't heard of it, it's weird why you are in Australia. I'm joking. But normally people come to Sydney because they want to see Bondi. And yes, it's beautiful. It's overrated for me a little bit, but still it's amazing and it's beautiful. In my opinion, you should spend an entire day in their walkways and go for a brunch there in Bondi or close like Koji or Bronte, because that beaches and that walkways are just different. And maybe if you have a good weather, go for a swim. But be careful with the animals and stuff they are in there, because I know sometimes crocs, sharks, a little bit of everything. Just make sure you're safe. But don't worry, if you don't want to go for a swim, you can go to the pools. They are free and they have sea salt, so it's the same experience but without waves. The next one is you should leave a like and subscribe. The next one, check the weekend markets. I've never went there. They told me they have amazing fresh vegetables, amazing fresh fruits, and you should probably spend a little morning over there. And the last one, and for me this is a very, very important one, make sure the dates you are coming to Sydney, check the events schedule. As I told you, Sydney is one of the most incredible cities I've ever been, and it's always something happening there. As you can see in these images, we have been in Vivid, and after Vivid we had a lot of shows, a lot of festivals. So make sure you can check the event schedule, because I can almost promise you something is happening there when you're there. And yeah guys, as always, I hope you enjoyed and see you soon next week.